Baldy, what's going on?
Hey guys, good to see you. Kind of getting ready for week 12, putting week 11 to bed right now. So just staying on top of everything.
And Baldy, we're doing that as well, breaking down how the Broncos can improve after a 32-point win. But we do have to look back at least a little bit because Bo Nix was just named the AFC's Offensive Player of the Week. Not rookie, Offensive Player of the Week for his performance. How impressed were you with Bo's performance this past week?
Well, it's unbelievable, actually. When you think about 3 months ago at the start of the season, he couldn't get a ball to a wide receiver. And now, he can find receivers all over the field. He's seen the field better. The play selection, play design was outstanding. I felt like he was always protected, and he had good vision to a lot of his targets. So it was, obviously it was his best game that he's played, but that's a good defense. That's Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons on the back end of that defense. Those guys have like 55 career interceptions between them, and they couldn't get their hand on the football. It was very impressive.
Now, Baldy, I feel like I've talked to a couple of national media members, and it's been tough for them to give Bo credit. They say he played good, but they want to talk about all the DBs and corners that were missing on the Atlanta Falcons defense. How do you feel about, Bo's play, or was it just that the Atlanta Falcons were missing some players?
No, I don't want to even look at that. Whoever's out there is out there for Atlanta. So, I just think that when you execute like that, I don't care who's in there. That's about the quarterback seeing the field, making the throws, accurate throws, difficult throws over the middle of the field, seam routes, down the middle. I thought it was impressive. And I'm not really worried about who was in or who was in the lineup. And I don't want to put an asterisk next to his name because of that. That's not fair to him.
Baldy, I want to also ask you, since you're a national guy and you're so dialed in with the rest of the league, and what's the temperature on where the Rookie of the Year conversation stands from a national perspective? Obviously, Jaden Daniels was a very heavy favorite, deservedly so. Bo's really kind of pulled it to now what, at least in Broncos country, seems like it should be a very even race, 50-50 between these two. But it doesn't feel like it's that way in the national perspective yet. Is that right, or do you think Bo's actually getting some credit now?
No, I think you got to play it all the way out. Jaden got off to an unbelievable start.
Yeah.
He was completing 75% of his passes for the first 6 or 7 weeks. Washington, 2 weeks ago was 7-2. They were comfortably in first place in the NFC East, and he was getting all the attention. Didn't play particularly well against the Eagles on Thursday night. Last time he played, it's one game, but I feel like Bo is just gradually and increasingly getting better and better. And as these games get bigger, he got a game against the Raiders, Cleveland, games where, winnable games. He went through a tough stretch. Look, you go on the road, you play Kansas City and Baltimore. There's not a whole lot of starters in this league, veterans that are going to play great in those situations. And so, he bounced back really strong last week against Atlanta, first place team. They're undefeated against the NFC South, I believe, this year. There's still 6 weeks left of games where he has a chance to, make a name for himself, make the playoffs perhaps. And if that's the case, then he should get the recognition.
As Bo Nix continues to improve and get better, what are some other pieces of this Denver Broncos offense that you feel like needs to get better to help Bo and this team make a push to the playoffs?
Well, I thought they ran the ball better last week, but that they certainly have to run the ball better. You look at the teams in that division, the Chargers playing great football, they're running the ball really well. 29-yard run at the end of the game, 20 seconds ago to win the game and not send it into overtime. Can you run it when you have to run it right now? And that's really, they're rotating. I don't know what the rotation is because all three guys are playing. It depends on, I guess, the series, the down the distance, the situation. But they're playing three running backs now, and I think that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to run the ball better when they have to run it. Can they get it? Can they run it in the red zone? Can they run it on short yards and goal line? Can they run it in the 4-minute drill with the lead? Those kind of things I think are going to be crucial. As you begin this playoff stretch, which usually begins, next week at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Baldy. That's something we talked about earlier. And you mentioned earlier that that Sean Payton had one of his best game calls. And one of the things I loved from it was how he used Marvin Mims. And over the past 2 weeks, he's used Marvin Mims in kind of this joker role. He's had him all over the field. Is this something that's sustainable, and how much does it open up the offense?
Well, he cut the wheel route, coming out of the backfield like he did. It was a big chunk play, flipped the field position. Look, I think the guy's got what Sean's doing is whatever pieces he has, let's figure out a way to use them. And the best, and so there is no set playbook here. I think it could continually change and alter depending on the opponent, depending on who's healthy with the Raiders, particularly this week or next week against Cleveland. I think he's just looking for matchups right now and who he has that can win matchups. And I think it's going to change week to week. But, that's what him and Drew Brees did for 15 years in New Orleans and to great success and a Super Bowl win. And so I think you could see more of it. I mean, it might be a bigger role for Troy Franklin. You're seeing Ville right now becoming, a bigger role in this offense. I'm not sure what the next piece is or what other type of cards he has up his sleeves, but I know just following him for as long as I have, like there's still more to come.
Baldy, everybody wants to talk about the offense and Bo Nix, but I got to give some credit to that defense, man. They did a great job on Sunday, holding Kirk Cousins to 0 touchdowns, an interception, and really stopping a star-studded offense. Were you surprised to see how well the Broncos defense did on Sunday?
Yeah, I was, yeah. Because they are they do have good pieces. I mean, when you look at, Bijan and Drake and Pitts and some, like those guys are good players and they've had good success. But the secondary is lights out good and it's married by a really good front. John Franklin Myers was a great pickup. He's an every down player in a variety of roles, just like he was with the Jets and the Rams. Like he's a good player. But Zack Allen, like Malcolm Roach, this group is tough to run against. And so it starts up front with those guys, and obviously, you're getting, Bonito is getting off and all that kind of stuff. But I thought that the secondary was outstanding all day against that group.
Baldy, there's some metrics, speaking of that defense, that say Zack Allen has the best pass rush win rate, pressure rate, and then also he's like top 3 in terms of run stop percentage. Is he, from your perspective, is he playing like one of the best defensive linemen in the entire NFL?
He looks like J.J. Watt Jr., like I know they don't play together in Arizona. Yeah, learned a lot from J.J., but I mean, he's a force. I mean, Zach is a force. He doesn't get any national attention. Nobody even knows he's number 99. They don't know because they don't watch and they don't study. But he's a force every week. Like he chases and plays the game the right way. He plays it hard the way JJ did. I think he learned a lot from him. But he can win in the pass rush. I didn't know he was winning in pass rush ratio. That's new to me. But that's all right. But he's fundamentally very, very sound. He stacks and shed in the run game. He gets on your edge in the pass game. He's got counter moves to beat you in protection. He sees the field and recognizes the situations really well. He's an elite player. It's the reason why he's the focal point of this defense up front right now.
But I got to ask you about another player on that front for Nick Bonito. I feel like he's playing lights out right now. When you're first coming out as a outside linebacker, you're starting to do well. You get a lot of one-on-one blocks, and they start chipping you, and it feels like now he's able to win, even being chipped. How do you feel about his performance and him being ranked second in the league in sacks right now?
Well, he's been on a good climb. I thought it started last year. I thought he was out there. He plays in really a variety of roles in that defense. He's not just a pass rusher, and so I think he recognizes right now the situation in games like he did last week. I think he understands down distance situations. Like it's more than just winning in pass rush. It's understanding how to do it, when to do it, what you're going to go up against. He's going to get a lot more attention. He's going to get double digits this year, which is always sort of the benchmark. But I think he's playing above all of that. I think they're all working together, right now. And so I think he's the beneficiary of other guys that are playing well up front. But he's starting to get national attention. He was on the Insiders NFL Network yesterday, saw the interview. He was very good. But he gives a lot of credit to Vance, gives a lot of credit to everybody else on that defensive secondary, locking guys up, giving them an extra chance, an extra tick, to be able to get to the quarterback. So I think he's going to get a good chance this week, honestly. I don't think the right tackle with the Raiders is very good. I think they have a lot of issues just watching them against the Dolphins last week. I think he's going to get some opportunities this week to get to double digits.
Baldy, you mentioned some offensive line play. I want to round us out here by getting your expertise on the Broncos offensive line. There's also some metrics out there that say the Broncos offensive line is the best pass blocking offensive line in the NFL. When you watch the film, how impressed have you been with their ability to protect Bo?
Well, I'm impressed. Bo escapes a lot too. I mean, he's very elusive. That helps however they create those metrics. The thing that impressed me about the line last week was how athletic they were down the field last week. Whether it was Quinn Miners or Ben Powers or, guys getting downfield, Wattenberg getting down the field and picking guys off with some of those screens that they ran last week. Because I think if you want to be a great line, it's got to be more than just run blocking. It's got to be more than just protecting your quarterback. Like, I think you've got to have a perimeter game and a game down the field to slow down the rush. And so I thought they were really good in that department last week.
I love it, Baldy. Next week, we'll probably be talking about a 7-5 Broncos team with you if they can take care of business against the Raiders this week. But we love your insight, and we look forward to catching up with you next week.
Yep, thanks. I'll talk to you next week, guys. You bet.
Man, I mean, talk about some high praise for Zack Allen there. Saying a little JJ Watt Jr. there.